All righty. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Empowered Esquire TV. Now, as you can see, we have scheduled for us to discuss a number of things. For those of you who have been around with me for a minute and perhaps saw my community tab, you know that I have had myself an interesting past, I guess I should say, week or so. I had a lovely trip with my line sisters. And of course, when you have the vacay or the trip, you gotta, have the vacay from the vacay. So I had to get myself back on track, right? But anywho, that's neither here nor there. I'm sure you don't want to hear, my blither and blab. I have missed you. Hello to everyone in the chat. And so I know that you're not used to seeing me Saturday night, right? This is new. This is different. Listen, sometimes you got to do something different. Sometimes you got to step out of the box a little bit. You know what I mean? And just do something that you wouldn't normally do. So will see how the Saturday Night Live goes. If you guys like it, hey, maybe this will be a thing for us. Maybe we will do Saturday Night Lives. If you like it and you're digging it and you think, you know what, this really works for me, huh? So, as we allow everyone else to come on into the room, we are going to listen to the most recent little snippets from the podcast. As I said, we allow everyone to go on ahead and come on into the room. All right, let's do that. All right, welcome to the Empowered Esquire podcast. I hope you are doing wonderful this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever you are hearing this. So, if you have followed me over here from YouTube, you know that our tagline here is empowering you with legal knowledge. And we plan to continue that here on the podcast. If you are not aware of the YouTube channel, check us out on YouTube at Empowered Esquire TV. And if you'd like to listen to this podcast on YouTube, you can do so at the YouTube channel Empowered Esquire Podcast. But anywho, let's get into it. Welcome back to the Empowered Esquire TV podcast. I'm your host, Phyliciadcpearson, attorney, entrepreneur, and educator. I have to take that deep breath because this story is just so, it hurts me. It hurts me to my core. So let me start by saying rest in peace to Courtney Cox. All right, you all. So Courtney Cox is oh goodness. Courtney Cox was an attorney in Midtown Atlanta. It's believed that she practiced corporate law and she was fatally shot and killed by the man that she was allegedly in a relationship with. So by her boyfriend. Many people have been talking about this story because the picture released, the mugshot, I should say, released of the boyfriend, quite frankly, portrays someone who has had many contacts with the law and someone who appears to be quite disheveled and a weird juxtaposition for a woman who, was so educated and so successful and things like that. And so, of course, the conversation being had is the choices that are made, right, by many women who have ascended to a certain level. So listen, if you're over here from YouTube, how are you? But you know that we have different conversations over here on the podcast. And so I want you to buckle up because this is going to be a different discussion. Before I dive into it, I am not victim blaming. No one should meet the kind of end that Courtney Cox has met. This is devastating. But in order to stop it, we have to have real conversations. We cannot dance around it and act as though nothing occurred before this woman was killed. So let me say this. If you are hearing my voice right now, man, woman, non-binary, whatever you identify as, right? If you're hearing my voice right now and you are single, listen to me. Listen to me. Being single is not a disease. It is okay to be single. It is fine to be single. You are not required to be with someone solely for the purpose of being able to say you are with someone. The desperation and the need to be with someone for societal image has got to stop. It has got to stop because it leads people to make decisions that are inappropriate for them. And then ultimately they end up in danger, right? Society has put this immense pressure on everyone to be with somebody. It's almost like you're told that your worth is cut in half if you're single, as opposed to if you're in a relationship. But nobody says to you, are you in an equally yoked relationship? Right? A relationship where you're on par mentally, emotionally, psychologically. Are you in a relationship that feeds you? Is it a healthy relationship? Is it mutually enriching? Nobody says that. They just say, are you posting pictures online with somebody? And do you have somebody sitting on the couch with you? And so the problem is that many, many, many single people are so pressured by this societal programming that they are ending up in romantic relationships with people who were never appropriate to begin with. And do many of them end in such an extreme manner? No, some of them don't end in such an extreme end, right? Some of them end in children who are in imbalanced households and therefore developing psychological trauma. Some of them end in children who grow up without a parent because the relationship that was never appropriate to begin with falls apart and now the child is down a parent, right? So yeah, some of them don't end so extremely, but the end result is always negative. You are enough in and of yourself. You should be able to say to the world, to say to your family, to say to your friends, hey, I'm enough. And if I find someone who is appropriate and complimenting, then yes, I will ride off into the sunset with that person. But if I do not, I am enough. Now, there are some people who say that it's not society pressuring them, right? It's not other people, it's them. And they feel this need to be with someone. They feel incomplete when they're not in a relationship. And I'm here to tell you that despite what many people might say online, that's not healthy. If you do not feel whole when you are single, that means that there is something going on with you internally in which there's something that you feel is missing. And let me tell you something. One of the biggest lessons to learn in this life is that everything you need, you should be able to provide for yourself from within. Validation, love, support, worthiness, wholeness, oneness, all these things, you should be able to provide it for yourself from within. All right. So if you would like to hear part 2 of the podcast, I am going to drop the link here. It's on Anchor, but as you can see, you can also hear it on Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Spotify, and whatever copy RSS is. Okay, so I am copying and pasting the link to the podcast in the chat if you'd like to hear part 2 of the devastating story of attorney Courtney Cox, an attorney in Atlanta who was fatally injured by her lover. Okay. So, anywho, welcome to everyone who has joined us. I like to give everyone, some time to come on in the room. And I think I've given it enough time. We're not going to belabor it too much, right? So we are going to go ahead and hop in. I'm going to first start by saying hello to some of the peeps in the chat. So hello to Brett Edwards. Hello, Sheba Mooncat. Hello, Mara Sharice. Hello, Indigo Forever. Hello, Castle. Hello, Swan X. Hello, Jamar. And hello, Doug. And hello to everyone else who is watching. All right. So I think we should go in order of the title of the video, right? I mean, why not? Okay. But before we do that, I actually want to highlight a comment by Mara Sharice. I think it's important to point this out as we kind of round out our conversation about the podcast. So Mara says, coupled is great. Single is great. We got to stop this mess. You can be single and still be in a community and be part of a tribe. Very good point. You can be a part of a tribe, a community, a family, right? And still have social interaction and love and support without being in any type of toxic or unhealthy romantic relationship. So, yeah, very good point there. It's so important that we all really put our well-being, our safety, and all those things before we put the image that society is telling us to portray as a priority, right? All righty. So we're gonna start with this Astroworld festival situation. Let's call it that. Let's say Astroworld festival situation. Okay. So I've queued up some different articles that I wanted to share with you. Of course, now I'm looking in my there we go. Let me copy and paste this link here so I can share the let's see. Oh, will this work? Let's see. Yes. All right, here we go. All righty. So here we are. So if you are unfamiliar with what's going on, Travis Scott and Live Nation host an event that is called Astro World Festival. And apparently, during the festival, they actually had to cancel the rest of the festival due to what happened. But Friday night, there was a crowd surge, is what it's being called. And apparently, there was a push for everyone to kind of move towards the front of the stage. And what happened is that with hundreds of people pushing against each other, some people did not make it to the front, but instead ended up underneath the crowd, being trampled, which of course, as we all know, causes some severe injury, right? So let's see what the local news had to say about it. So 8 dead, hundreds injured at Astroworld Fest Friday night, hours after Stampede. I'd like to note that there are some people who are reporting that they believe, of course, allegedly, that there are more than 8 people dead. They believe that the more accurate, more recent number is more than 8. But of course, we only know what we're being told thus far, right? Okay. So festival canceled as investigators work to find out what happened. And so here we have a statement. I don't think we can hear it.
2 are 21 years of age. 2 are 23. Making some preliminary comments, and then I'll be followed by Judge Hidalgo, and Judge Hidalgo will be followed by Chief Fenner, and then Chief Pena, and then there may be a few others who may be offering some comments. I certainly want to acknowledge Congressman Al Green from the 9th Congressional District, who's standing with us. Last night was tragic on many different levels. And this is a very, very active investigation, and we'll probably be at it for quite some time to determine what exactly happened. Let me just cover a few things first. Um, Based on our latest information, 8 people are reported dead from the event last night. In terms of their ages, uh, one is 14, one is 16, 2 are 21 years of age, 2 are 23, one is 27, and one remains unknown at this time. So a total of 8 that are reported dead. 6 of the 8 family members have been notified, and we know that at least one is outside of Houston Harris County, reside outside of Houston Harris County. As was based on last night, 25 were transported to the hospital. 13 are still hospitalized, including 5 that are under the age of 18. Um, Based on the information that we currently have, no one is reported missing. So 0 persons are reporting missing. 4 of the 25 um, will have been discharged from the hospital. Um, Let me just say, as it relates to what happened last night, as far as we are aware, this is Whereas I'm not aware of any incident of this kind that has taken place at any one of our special events, either on the county side, on the city side, pretty much in the last, I would imagine, the last 40 years, where anybody has lost life. Now, we've had events where there may have been a crowd rush, or somebody had to be ejected, or maybe somebody has been injured, but nothing of this magnitude that any of us can recall, and certainly that I can recall, that is taking place in this city. This incident is being thoroughly investigated and reviewed thoroughly. It is important for us to ascertain from last night what took place, what happened, where missteps may have occurred, uh, and in so doing, there have been conversations with, for example, representatives of Live Nation. We'll continue to talk to Travis Scott's people. We'll talk to as many witnesses as we can who were present last night. We're talking with individuals who have been hospitalized to try to get a much better understanding of what took place, what went wrong, where were the missteps. Certainly, HPD and other law enforcement organizations will be looking at as much of the video footage as possible to try to, again, to ascertain what took place. We'll look at the security plans themselves. We'll look at the collaboration that took place between the county and the city, even leading up to this particular event. As you know, NRG is a county facility. This is where this incident occurred, but it also occurred inside the city of Houston. So we'll look in depth at the collaboration between the two entities. In terms of personnel, and Chief Fenner can go into this even more, but let me just say preliminarily, we know that there were about 528 HPD officers that provided security for the event, and an additional 755 persons representing private security that Live Nation had that was providing security at this particular facility. So there are let me just say to you, there are a lot of unanswered questions. And over the next several days, several weeks, could be even longer, we'll take an in-depth look at everything that took place, why it took place, what steps we can do moving forward to mitigate an incident of this kind from taking place at any other point in time. Now, there are a lot of rumors on social media. Let me caution people not to buy into the rumors, okay? Because there are a lot of rumors, but nothing is left off the table in terms.
All righty, so we are going to pause there because there's some things that we need to dissect about the conversation that we just heard, or rather, I should say, the statement that we just heard, because it is a press conference, right? From Mayor Turner. So if you're wondering who is Mayor Turner, right? Let me see your transcript has so wonderfully given us all the explanation in the chat, right? So Mayor Turner, right? That would be the mayor for Houston. Then we see that there's also a representative who is the head of Harris County, right? So that would be the county. So you have the city represented, you have the county represented. And then let me see, your transcript also lets us know that Representative Al Green is actually the representative for the area in which the festival took place. Okay, so thank you so much. Let me see your transcript for that. Now, let's start to dissect a bit because there is a lot there. There's a lot for us to unpack. Of course, to the trained ear, right? To the critically thinking ear. Remember, when we're listening to things like press conferences and statements and things like that, in terms of taking a step into the legal world, into the legal aspects of those things, you want to be listening very, very critically because there are lawyers behind all of this. Trust and believe that everything that Mayor Turner said was approved by an attorney, right? So the city, the county, all of these different governmental entities, they have attorneys that their specific job is press and publicity and public image, right? Okay. So there's a couple of things that Mayor Turner said that are very, very interesting. First, Mayor Turner mentioned that in years of having events in the city of Houston, he said in his opinion, in about 40 years, he has not seen an incident of this magnitude result in this type of injury and loss of life. And it's very, very interesting that he says that, and here's why. He's not saying that Houston doesn't have large events, right? No. He's insinuating, right? He's very, very professionally insinuating that something went wrong at Astroworld. Because in all these years of Houston having these types of events, this is not happening often. This is something that has not happened at any other event, right? Like he said, in his opinion, almost 40 years. So there is the very professional but poignant insinuation that something went wrong at Astroworld. Now, he then goes on to say there are a lot of unanswered questions. There was a lot of security present. He will be speaking to, or not he will be speaking to, but investigators will be speaking to Live Nation and some of the other companies who were present. And he goes on to discuss the fact that nothing is off the table, right? Again, another very professional but poignant insinuation that they are investigating whether or not the crew and the staff and the security personnel at Astroworld were negligent. If you're a newbie here, you might not know what negligent means, right? But if you're an OG, you know what negligent means. Negligent means, in colloquialism, irresponsible. That's it. Irresponsible. That's the most colloquial way to define negligence. Now, of course, there's a lengthy, way more complicated legal definition, right? Okay. Alrighty. So let's see if there's anything else that we want to garner from this article before we go into the potential legal implications here. All right. So we see a drone picture here of the scene. We know that the festival has been shut down, so there's nothing else happening there. It's been cornered off as a crime scene. Oh, here's something we should discuss. So the worst of the incident began around 9:15 p.m. when the crowd of approximately 50,000 concert goers began to move toward the front of the stage. So around 9:15 p.m., a crowd of, I mean, this is a massive crowd, right? Begins to move. And you have to ask yourself, where was the Live Nation or festival security? I mean, they had to have had crowd management. So here's some background. Whenever there is an event this large, and again, this is part of what behind the scenes attorneys are all involved in, right? There are certain risk management efforts that you must take. Whoever is putting on the festival, right? In this instance, it will be Travis Scott and Live Nation. They have the responsibility of managing certain risk. If you know you are going to have this many concert goers, right? 50,000, you know that a crowd surge is a risk. And so in managing that risk, there is something called crowd management. And there are several different ways that you can manage a crowd, right? There are barricades, there are certain barriers you can put up in certain places, right? And there are also actual live personnel you can have stationed in certain places to manage a crowd. Okay, so our first question is, the worst of this incident began around 9:15 p.m. All these people are moving towards the front. Where is the security? Okay. The crowd began to compress toward the front of the stage and people began to panic, right? Because that's what happens. You have a bunch of people moving towards something. And like I said, not everyone can keep up. So the people who are getting swept up, they're going to panic because they're going to become afraid that they are going to fall to the bottom and be trampled. Oh boy. Okay, so here is I guess some video of the actual festival before things went awry. The most deadly moments happened after 9:30 p.m. Aha. Everyone, another very important thing. So this crowd surge began at 9:15. And the worst of it happened at 9:30. So what does that tell us? 15 minutes, everybody. 15 minutes. What was the risk management plan? Where is crowd management? Is it live personnel? What is it? What is the plan? Because this was going on for 15 minutes before it escalated to the worst of it. Interesting. Okay. Pena said that more than 300 patients were treated at a field hospital since the event began. Oh, you guys, this is getting worse and worse for Live Nation. This is just, wow. So that insinuates, again, that this went on for quite some time. Okay. Now they go on to note that by Saturday afternoon, 13 people had been hospitalized. 5 of those patients were under 18 years old. It only gets worse. This is terrible. Wow, this is terrible. Okay. Now they go on to discuss that there were several people who were being trampled, as we said could happen, right? And they were experiencing some type of cardiac arrest while they were on the ground, which can happen. If you're under that kind of pressure, your body can go into cardiac arrest as a sort of shock. Okay, and then they said finally that at some point, finally, the show was stopped. But again, we know that the crowd surge went on for quite some time before the show was stopped, right? All righty. I am in the chat. I'm going to engage with you all for a little bit before I start getting into the legalities of this issue. So if you are a newbie here, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are an OG, you already know how we do this. We look at what the media is saying. We look at some of the facts of the issue, and then we dive into the legal implications. All right. So let me say some hellos. Hello to New Marie. Hello to Nappy Yankee. All righty. And I see a few interesting comments I'm going to highlight. Alrighty, so let me see. Your transcript has confirmed that Houston has large events all the time, right? They've had the Super Bowl, different rodeos, graduations, concerts. So as Mayor Turner is saying, this is not something that usually happens. So we know that something went wrong. Okay, we know that for sure, for sure. Shiba Mooncat says 50,000 people in a pandemic. Hey, I don't know. I guess those people decided that they would be fine, right? They made their decision apparently. Woo, all righty. So we are going to hop into the legal implications of this. So, for those of you who may be unaware, if a close loved one is fatally injured by some type of hand of another, by some type of doing of another, whether it's a person or an entity, right? You, as the bereaved person, can sue that person or that entity. And so let's discuss that. Let's discuss, well, what if the parents, family members, spouses, be it whatever it may be, right, decide to sue Astroworld Festival, Live Nation, and Travis Scott for the passing away of their loved ones? And believe me, they will. Let's talk about exactly what they would be noting as their cause of action. I'd also mention that they could possibly also try to sue the city, the county, and the state as well, okay, depending on some of the specific details. So, Mara Charisse, of course, is on it today. She says wrongful death. And yes, Mara Charisse, that is Correct. Now, are there other causes of action that would apply? Of course, right? You'll see that in a lot of lawsuits there's always multiple causes of action noted. But the main cause of action with the fatalities here would be wrongful death, okay? So I'm going to queue up for y'all. Am I having a southern moment saying y'all? I sometimes have, little southern moments, although I've been up north for quite some time. Alrighty, so let me pull this up and copy and paste this for you all because the first thing I want to show you is the actual state of Texas definition for wrongful death. Okay. Alrighty, share screen. Here we go. So, we are in the Civil Practice and Remedies Code for the state of Texas. Again, if you are new around here, you know that we like to read the law. We don't take anyone's word for it. We read it ourselves, right? And so every state has their statutes, their law, their code available somewhere online. And for the state of Texas, that is statutes.capitol.texas.gov. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste this link and put that in the chat. Let me see, your transcript says she says y'all as well. Yeah, it is a southern thing though. People up north don't say y'all. And when I first moved up north, people were always, judging me and laughing at me, y'all. So eventually it was kind of bullied out of me. But on occasion, I still say y'all. All right. Okay, so here we go. So, Title 4, liability in tort. This is where we are, everyone. Remember, a tort is a civil case based upon the injury of someone else. Okay, that's a tort. When someone is injured and they sue in civil court. All right. Chapter 71, wrongful death, okay, survival and injuries occurring out of state. All right. So, as with every statute, the beginning of the statute always gives you the definitions. That ensures that you are able to read the statute, right? Because if you read it without definitions, you might wonder, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? Does it apply? You no need to wonder because they tell you what death means. Now, this is pretty much, par of the course, but there's something I want to point out here. Notice that in the definition, right, in this definition, I don't know if this is a word that the algorithm doesn't like, but in the definition of the D word, they note that it includes an individual who is an unborn child. Okay? Interesting. So it's interesting to note that, let's say, for example, that a woman who was expecting a child was involved in any of this and she lost her child. She still has wrongful death as a potential cause of action. Let's say again that a woman who was expecting actually lost her life in this incident, right? Her loved ones can sue for her passing as well as the passing of the unborn child. Very, very interesting to note. Okay. And Mara Cherie says, we say y'all more now because of gendered language and y'all is perfect. That's true. Y'all really is perfect because then you don't you don't have to be concerned about any of the other issues that may arise. Okay, so here we go. Cause of action. So, this cause of action is an action for damages arising from an injury that causes an individual's passing. Okay, pretty basic, right? Now they say a person is liable for damages arising from an injury that causes a person's passing if the injury was caused by the person's or his agents or servants' wrongful act, neglect, carelessness, unskillfulness, or default. Okay. So that may initially sound like blah, 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 right? Legalese. But here's what it means. It means something in particular for Live Nation, Travis Scott, and Astroworld Festival. When you see the word agents and you see it in a statute, let me highlight it for you here. I missed it already. Here we go. Agent. When you see the word agent in a statute, agent means liability for something that you did not necessarily do yourself if the person who did whatever it is they did was doing it at your behest. So here's what that means. That means that Live Nation is responsible for the actions of their employees because their employees are their what? Their agents. That means that Travis Scott is liable for the actions of the people at his festival, right? Travis Scott wasn't in the crowd, but these people that he hired are his what? Agents. So agent is a very strong word in statute, a very strong word in the law. And in this instance, it gives any aggrieved person, any aggrieved person, the right to sue these corporations because all employees involved are agents. Okay. Now they go on to discuss some things that, are a little bit more detailed than we need right now, right? So let's stick to what it is that we really need. So, what we also need to note is the person who is the agent, right? They have to commit a wrongful act, neglect, carelessness, unskillfulness, right? Or something of that nature. And that's exactly what we've been discussing when we talked about Mayor Turner's um, press conference, right? Remember that we said that he is politely, professionally insinuating that something was done wrong, that somehow they were careless, that somehow certain protocols and plans were not in place, right? So he actually is, as I said, very professionally and kind of low key, high key, right? Insinuating that there was neglect there was carelessness, something went wrong. And that directly fits into the statute here for wrongful passing in the state of Texas. Okay. Alrighty, so you see the rest of our statute here. If you're interested in just reading statutes, hey, why not? I put the link in the chat. You're free to go ahead and continue to read it as much as you like, right? But for our purposes, we have discussed what could happen. Okay. Now you might be wondering, well, how much could they recover for, a wrongful death suit in this Astroworld festival? um I just had a total brain freeze. Well, not a brain freeze. I didn't have anything cold. Brain pause in this Astro World wrongful passing lawsuit. Okay, so let's see here. I'm literally just bringing it up for you. Um, there we go. That's what I wanted. I had a total brain pause on the word verdict award. That's what I was looking for, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, what's that word? What's that word? Okay, finally found it. So the fourth largest wrongful passing verdict in Texas was for, drum roll, let's see, the amount was, I mean, really, they made this big deal about announcing that it was the fourth largest award, and then they've buried the amount somewhere in this ridiculously long article. Where is the amount of. In a second, I'm going to share my screen and show you guys this ridiculous article. There we go. Okay. So the fourth largest award for wrongful passing in the state of Texas was $18 million. Okay. So you can conservatively imagine that these loved ones, if they chose to file suit, could recover anywhere from 6 million up into the range of 18, uh, potentially 20 million, right? Of course, that is a very conservative guesstimate. Okay. And they may settle out of court, right? That's always possible. Okay. All righty. So next up, right? I think we've covered the Astro World tragedy, right? Until we get some more information. If you have questions about the Astro World tragedy, though, right? If there's something that is just lingering on your mind, please drop your question into the chat. In the meantime, I am going to take my mini water break. Alrighty, I don't see any questions about Astroworld and all of that, so it looks like we're gonna move on, right? Let me check my info that I had queued up for you. Yep, shared everything I wanted to share. All right, so let's head into what is next up on our list. Oh wait, we do have a question. All right, so let me see your transcript. Would like to know, what if someone caught, you know, the blank, you see it on the screen, from someone at the festival and later passed away? Okay, so here's the answer to that. Let me see your transcript. Many of these festivals should have, as they usually do, liability waivers. Ah, see, Mara already got it. So probably these festival goers signed some sort of liability waiver, and probably it included any type of potential risk regarding, you know what. Alrighty. So, Mara, you're right on point when you said, what if there's a waiver? Okay. Waivers are for the purpose of being able to prevent you from suing. So, more than likely, if they sign that waiver, they cannot sue in regards to that, right? In regards to the big V. But in regards to the surge, well, that's a different conversation, right? Because negligence is involved there. Any other questions about Astroworld before we move on to NFAC and Grandmaster J? Going once, going twice. I'll give you one more moment. All righty, let's move on then, shall we? Okay, let me clear this comment. And let me queue up for you all just a little bit of the deets. So the first thing we're going to check out is the initial press release issued by the Department of Justice, okay, regarding Grandmaster J. So that's the first thing we're going to check out. You know that whenever someone of any type of notoriety is arrested, charged, brought in, anything like that, and it involves the DOJ, they will usually issue their own press release. So, we like to look at their press release, see what they are saying about it, and then dive into other potential sources, right? Okay, can everyone hear me? Give me a Y in the chat if you can hear me. I just want to make sure, because for some reason I'm not seeing my mic signal, which lets me know that my mic is working and that I can be heard. So let me know in the chat. Oh, perfect. Okay, good. Okay, so let's get into it, shall we? All right, here we are. So we are here at the United States Attorney's Office for the Western District of Kentucky. So that tells us a number of things, right? We know that this is the district that would be over his prosecution, okay? And we see that this was released back in December of 2020. For those of you who don't know, the incident that Grandmaster J is actually being prosecuted for now occurred quite some time ago, okay? This is not something that happened yesterday. So these prosecutions do take time. I see we have a question in the chat. Someone is saying, who is Grandmaster J? Okay. I did make some assumption that you all would just know, but luckily for Sheba and anyone else who might not be familiar, I think the DOJ does a little bit of an explanation as to who he is, right? If not, I will explain a little bit further after this, okay? All righty. So, Louisville, Kentucky, John F. Johnson, aka Grandmaster J, has been charged by a criminal complaint with assaulting federal task force officers. Interesting. Here in Kentucky, we revere our First and Second Amendment freedoms, not foolishness which puts police and protesters at grave risk. The FBI respects the rights of individuals to peacefully exercise their First Amendment rights, said FBI Louisville Division SAC Robert Brown. Our mission of protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution is dual and simultaneous, not contradictory. Accordingly, we are committed to investigating violent behavior and those who are exploiting legitimate, peaceful protest and engaging in violations of federal law. So, thus far, we know what? The U.S. attorney is involved in his prosecution, as well as the Louisville FBI. Not a good combination. Okay, you don't want to have the FBI involved in your prosecution. That is not a good sign. Yeah, okay. And as Napianki says, please like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel, because who else, right, is giving you respectful, insightful legal conversation without a bunch of foolishness, right? Alrighty. So they go on to say that Johnson is 57 years old. He's from Westchester, Ohio. And he was arrested in his home on December 3rd, 2020. Okay. According to the original criminal complaint, Johnson forcibly assaulted, resisted, opposed, impeded, intimidated, and interfered with federally deputized task force officers while they were engaged in or on account of the performance of official duties when Johnson aimed a rifle at them on September 4th, 2020 in Louisville, Kentucky. So there's our answer, right? This incident actually occurred on September 4th, 2020. And the reason that he is being federally prosecuted and not prosecuted by state officials is because the officers were federal officers. Okay. And so the allegation is that he pointed his rifle at them. Interesting. Johnson brandished an AR platform rifle rifle at federally deputized task force officers for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the U.S. Secret Service, and Louisville Metro Police Department. Whoa, whoa, whoa. This doesn't sound good. Whew. The task force officers were on the roof of the Jefferson County Grand Jury building, keeping watch on Jefferson Square Park, where there were armed protesters gathering. Oh boy. Okay. Well, I mean, we could go on and continue. Let's read this last little snippet here. Upon arriving at the eastern edge of the roof, the officers and task force officers began their surveillance. A short time after initiating surveillance, some of the officers were blinded by a light, which they shortly thereafter determined was a flashlight mounted to the rifle being aimed at them by Johnson. Okay, well, I put the link to this press release in the chat. Did I? Oh, maybe I didn't. You know what? Let's do that. If you want some leisurely reading, some weekend entertainment, you can just browse that press release some more. But they, of course, went on to tell us that if convicted at trial, Mr. Johnson could face 20 years in federal prison. All right. So they did not actually include the charging document here, which, you know what, that's fine. And I went into Pacer to locate the charging document. But let me tell you guys, John Johnson is a very, very common name. And Pacer brought up so many thousands upon thousands of cases that I just said to myself, there's no way. There's just no way that I mean, really? So that is why teamwork makes the dream work. I want to give a shout out to Snatch Investigations. Check out her channel. She is awesome. She is thorough. She is great. I'm subscribed to her channel. You should be too. And I want to say to her, I hope that you are well. And thank you so much for creating this amazing information. We are going to view and review a bit of Snatch Investigations talking about this indictment because, listen, over 5,400 results in Pacer? Yeah, no. Shout out to Snatch Investigations. You really are an amazing investigator, okay? So I am just bringing up her video. Hold on, let me actually stop sharing for a moment while I bring up the vid. Alrighty, here we are. We are going to start at right about here. So share. You guys know I always announce when I'm sharing my screen. Why? I don't know.
About September 4th, 2020, in the Western District of Kentucky, Jefferson County, John F. Johnson, aka Grandmaster J, the defendant, forcibly assaulted, resisted, opposed, impeded, intimidated, and interfered with any person designated as an officer and employee of the United States or any agency in any branch of the United States government in Title 18, United States Code, Section 1114, while engaged in and on account of the performance of official duties and used a deadly and dangerous weapon in the commission, to wit, John F. Johnson, aka Grandmaster J, resisted, opposed, impeded, intimidated, and interfered with a task force officer of the FBI by pointing an AR style rifle at the officer, all in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 111B.
All right, so let's take a quick moment, right? Let's take a moment here. Let's look at the document. So we see the indictment here. I don't blame her for watermarking it. That's probably because she searched through goodness knows how many to get to this one, right? So you see here, United States District Court. So you know, again, this is a federal prosecution, right? You see United States of America v. John F. Johnson. So again, you know that this is a federal prosecution. You know that it is a felonious or felony prosecution because you see indictment over here. And then you see the grand jury charges, which means that these charges were sent to a grand jury who voted, right, on these charges. Okay. So she mentions, you know, the allegation that we already read in the press release that he aimed a weapon at these officers. But more importantly, the indictment says specifically that Mr. Johnson allegedly violated Title 18 of the United States Code, Section 1114. So, as we like to do, what are we going to do next, y'all? We're going to look at Title 18, Section 1114. Okay. So, back to sharing my screen, going to take you to another tab. Here we are. So, we're back at the LII, which is our fave. And this title, this section that Grandmaster J is being charged under, relates specifically to the protection of officers and employees of the United States. Do I need to remove that? Let me remove this comment for a moment. Just so. Okay, perfect. Alrighty. So this is specifically in relation to protection of officers and employees of the United States. So government officers and employees. All right. So they go on to specifically state in this statute, whoever harms or attempts to harm any officer or employee of the United States or of any agency in any branch of the United States government, including any member of the uniformed services, while such officer is or employee is engaged in or on account of the performance of official duties, or any person assisting such an officer or employee in the performance of such duties or on account of that assistance, shall be punished. Okay. In the case of the person passing away under this section, in the case of the person passing away with less culpability, notice that I'm skating around certain words, right? The person will be punished under section 1112. And in the case of the attempt to fatally harm, you know, section 1113. Okay, so that is the actual law, and it's broken down into whether or not the employee was actually fatally harmed and or whether or not there was just an attempt to harm. And you can best believe that they will make the argument for attempt to harm if they're citing this part of the code. Okay. All right, I see we have someone who joined us. Hello to Keith Weston. Let's get back into what Snatch is saying. All right.
And 1114. Now, let's get to the second count because this is a 2-count indictment. Remember, separate from the wanton danger one. Count 2, brandishing a firearm in relation to a crime of violence. Kentucky on or about September 4th, 2020, in the Western District of Kentucky, Jefferson County, Kentucky, John F. Johnson, aka Grandmaster J, the defendant, did knowingly brandish, carry, and use a firearm that is an AR-15 during and in relation to a crime of violence for which he may be prosecuted in a court of the United States. That is violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 111, in count 1 above. This is why I say it's tied in, because it's saying brand.
Okay, so let me go into it just as Snatch was about to, right? Count 1 and count 2 are related. Count 1 is saying or alleging, count 1 is alleging that Mr. Johnson attempted to harm these officers by brandishing this weapon and pointing it towards them. Count 2 is saying what? That he was in possession of, right? That he was in possession of this firearm that he did brandish and carry. So in other words, he was in possession of a firearm that he did show while he was committing a crime. And what is the crime? The crime is the threatening of the officers. So notice how one flows into the other. He's allegedly threatening officers, and he's doing so while brandishing and carrying this weapon. So he's allegedly threatening officers, and then he's allegedly threatening them while being in the possession of and showing this weapon. That is how 1 and 2 are related. Count 1 is he allegedly threatened, and count 2 is he was brandishing this firearm while he was allegedly threatening. Now, as far as whether or not the firearm had a scope, I see QT1 is asking that. I haven't seen anything that mentioned if it did or did not. They did mention that it had a light on top, and I don't really know any. Listen, I'm not going to lie, you guys. I'm not a firearm enthusiast. I'm not against our right to bear arms, right? That's your right. But I don't know anything about firearms. So they mentioned that there was some sort of flashlight on top. Is that a scope? I don't know. Let's see. Google has all the answers. So I'm going to actually stop sharing. I mean, maybe, I'm going to learn something new today. So flashlight on top of rifle. Let's see. Is that a scope? Is that what's called a scope? Should I put a... I don't think so. Let's see. Scope. Oh, so you can have a scope mounted flashlight, right? So it sounds like there could have been a scope on this weapon. Okay, that's possible. That's possible. And if you're in the chat and you know more about firearms than me, please enlighten me, right? Enlighten me. Okay, so do we have any questions thus far on the charges against Grandmaster J and this new indictment? I'll give you all a moment while I check out some of these comments. So let me see. Your transcript says that allegedly Mr. Johnson worked in supply in the Army. Interesting. So he's former Army. That is very interesting. You would think that he would probably would have more knowledge of, how to attend these events while carrying a weapon. Interesting. All righty, here we go. So someone answered Sheba Mooncat. Thank you. Let me see your transcript. So the answer, Sheba Mooncat, as to who Grandmaster J is he is the leader of a pro-Black gun rights group called NFAC. Yep, and yes, let me see your transcript. Check out her channel. She did do a video on Grandmaster J in her African American Greed series. Very interesting series. I tune into every single episode in that series. Hello to Mickey Bricks. Hello to Michelle Jordan. Hello to Spot'em Shot'em. All right, so no one has enlightened me as to what a scope is. So I'm just gonna move forward in my my firearm ignorance, right? Hello to Glorianne Murray as well. So I don't see any further questions about Grandmaster J. I mean, and there's 2 counts in the indictment according to Snatch, and we already discussed count 1 and count 2. So does that mean that you want me to go ahead and move forward to Issa Rae and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated? Looks like it. Okay, so QT1 has said something I want to note. She said the light doesn't mean that you have a scope. Okay, because I was thinking that if there's the light, then maybe that means he has the scope, But again, I don't know much about firearms. Nappy Yankee says he's pushing 60. Will the judge take that into consideration? No. He's not elderly enough. If he was pushing 80, then we'd be having a different conversation. But pushing 60, nah. I mean, remember in the advancement of 2021, I mean, people live to 100 all the time nowadays. So 60 isn't what it used to be back in the 50s or 60s, right? You like what I did there? It's not viewed the same. It's not viewed as elderly anymore. Oh, here we go. Spot'em Shot'em says scope is an optic used for long range shooting. Got it. Okay, so it's called a scope because it's like a microscope, right? It zooms in for long ranges. Okay, it's like a microscope, a scope. Got it. Okay. Now I've been enlightened. And then QT1 says scope for visual, it doesn't mean harm. Oh, okay, so you could use the scope just to view things long range. I get it. Okay. Doug says it did have a scope. He was looking through the scope while pointing the AR at the officers on the roof. Interesting. So allegedly, Mr. Johnson was actually looking at these officers through the scope while he pointed this weapon at them. That sounds dangerous. Alrighty, so any other questions, comments, or concerns before we dive into Issa Rae, the AKAs, and trademarks, okay, and the law of trademark infringement? Going once, going twice. Alrighty, let me queue up that for you. So, for those of you who may be unaware for, I don't know, some reason, right? Listen, people have lives. I get it. It's cool, right? But if you missed it, a new season of Insecure is currently in the rotation, right? And many people, of course, are catching up and watching it. It is a darling of many, many people. I openly admit that I am not an Insecure scholar. I don't know much about the show because, quite frankly, I don't watch the show. And that's the truth. A lot of my girlfriends are on me about it. Like, I can't believe you, Felicia. I can't. I just never got into it. It's just not my thing. Okay. But anywho, in a recent episode of Insecure, one of the characters who is an AKA in the show, right? So important distinction. Amanda Seales, who plays his character, is not an AKA in real life. She's just an AKA in the show because her character is an AKA. Okay. And when I say AKA, I mean a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Now, that character, Amanda Seales, well, she went on to wear a sweater that had the actual AKA letters on the show. Let us take a little gander as to how that went. And I can give you a little spoiler alert. Didn't go well. All right. So we're here on Shine My Crown. Here is a picture of Amanda Seales' character, right? She's not wearing the letters in this picture, but she is wearing the colors of the sorority, which are pink and green. Okay. Here we go. The controversy surrounding the use of the AKA sorority's letters continues. The sorority had released a statement accusing the show of unauthorized usage of its brand. Here's the statement. Dear sorors, so this statement was from AKA, right, to its members. Now, for those of you who don't know Greek lettered organization lingo, allow me. A member of a sorority is a soror of that sorority. So, for example, I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, right? That makes me a soror of Zeta. So, for example, when I'm speaking to let's just say one of my line sisters, right? They'll say, hey, soror, and I'll say, hey, soror, because we're both members of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Now, I would not say, hey, soror to an AKA or hey, soror to a Delta, right? No, 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 no. No. It applies within the organization. So the minute that you see dear sorors, you already know that this is an internal communication, right? From AKA to AKAs. Now you may be wondering, well, what can we say to each other? Well, there's the term sister Greek. So I can say to a Delta, hi, Sister Greek, right? I can say to an AKA, hi, Sister Greek. And I have a dear friend. I mean, a dear friend. I absolutely love this woman who's an AKA, right? And I would say to her, hi, Sister Greek, but not hi, soror. Note the distinction. All right. So, dear sorors, we were made aware of the unauthorized use of our brand on the HBO show Insecure early yesterday morning and are taking steps to protect our brand. Please allow the corporate office to handle this matter. We all have a duty to protect our brand. Pause. You better believe that protect our brand means, oh, we're suing. That's exactly what it means. If they have to, right? I'm sure they'll settle it if it can be settled. Okay. And then we see the post and we see the actual letter that was sent to the sorors of AKA, right? With their official letterhead, okay? And we see a picture of Amanda Seals' character wearing the actual AKA letters. And I think she even has the shield over here on the other side. Whoa. Okay. Now they say in the caption, the AKA said they are about to take some steps to handle this serious matter. If you're not familiar with Black Greek lettered organizations, one of the phrases you could say that are attributed to AKAs is this is a serious matter. So that's a little AKA pun there. All righty. So let's discuss what happened here. Okay. Now you might be wondering, okay, they used some letters. What's the big deal? What's the big deal, right? Some letters. But what you're forgetting is the law of trademarks. Now, when you hear, as I said, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, there's a reason why the word incorporated is at the end. These sororities are also formally established as corporations. And as all corporations do, they have trademarked anything that relates to their likeness. Colors are trademarked, shields are trademarked, and names are trademarked. So, no, Insecure cannot put the AKA letters and the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated name on their show without permission. No, they cannot because it's trademarked. Okay. Now we're going to get into the actual trademarks, but I want to answer this question. So, Mara Cherie says, what is the copyright/trademark exactly? Well, let's get into it. Share screen. You know, I always announce that I'm sharing my screen. Why? I don't know. So here we are. Does anyone know where we are right now? Well, you might not, but don't worry. That's why I'm here. All right. So we are actually here on the official website for the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Everyone, the Trademark Electronic Search System, also called TESS, this is how you search for a trademark. So if you are wondering if something is trademarked, well, you go on to TESS, you give it a search, and you see if it's trademarked. Okay. So here we are, we're in TESS. And for my search, I just put Alpha Kappa Alpha. That's it. And now all of these trademarks came up. So when you go over here and you see live, that means the trademark is actually active. When you see dead, that means the trademark is dead. Okay. I have particular experience and interest in trademark and copyright because it is a big part of my practice. Okay. So if you are an entrepreneur watching this, hearing this, you need to trademark your business name. Contact me. You need to do that. Okay. Alrighty. So here we go. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, live. So Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is trademarked. Okay. Alpha Kappa Alpha, live. So Alpha Kappa Alpha is trademarked. Okay. Let's click and see, because when you click the trademark, you can get to a little bit more detail, right? Oh, stop it. That's so rude. They're making me start all over. Okay, let's do this. Do you guys see what they're doing? Okay, we have to start over. Test home. What? Oh, there we go. I was gonna say, I know. Okay, here we go. Well, at least you're seeing the whole progress. Here you go. Submit query. Okay. Alpha Kappa Alpha, Sorority Incorporated. Let's start here. Okay. You click it, it leads you to what is trademarked. So the words are trademarked, right? Word mark. And they've trademarked it for, here we go, people. Listen up, lean in. T-shirts, polo shirts, sweatshirts, jogging suits, sweatsuits, jackets, hats. Okay. So what was Amanda Seals wearing? Okay, that qualifies as a sweater, sweatshirt, right? Article of clothing. Okay. And now you see down here all the details of the mark. Okay. Got it? Good. Okay. Let's go back. Let's go to Alpha Kappa Alpha. All right. So here we see again Alpha Kappa Alpha, and we see tote bags, gym bags, duffel bags, umbrellas, backpacks, purses. Okay. All righty. And if you scroll down, you will continue to see different variations, right? So you also see Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So you know that they are also trademarked, right? As the entire Divine Nine is, right? As Let Me See Your Transcript pointed out, these organizations have been around for years on years on years. My organization has been around since 1920. Believe me, everything about us is trademarked. Okay. As you can see, and you see several other Greek lettered organizations, as I said, just like Kappa Alpha Psi, who are also trademarked. Okay. Let's see. What's this one? This one says AKA and it's live. Aha. Now this is when it gets really, really good. So we saw that Alpha Kappa Alpha itself, as in the words, are trademarked, right? But you all, would you look at this? Did you know you could trademark colors and font and letters? You didn't? Well, now you do. This use of AKA with this font, with those colors, are trademarked. Okay. It's hard for me to imagine that Issa Rae and HBO didn't know that these things were trademarked. It just feels as though they didn't care. That they treated it like, who cares? Some, African-American organization, I don't care. Because I find it very hard to believe that they did not know. All right, so I think we've effectively demonstrated that AKA has a trademark. Let's see. So interesting. So the build says, isn't one of the leads or a writer at AKA? I don't know the build. I'm not sure. Not sure. All right, let's see. So Keith Weston says he's going to video chat with his daughters, and we'll see. All right, Keith, will you do that? Dad stuff, we're in support of that. All right. And Let Me See Your Transcript says, didn't Black sororities and fraternities incorporate themselves to protect themselves from racism originally? Well, there are many different, I should say, origin stories, right, for why the organizations are incorporated. But yes, there was a concern about, because when these organizations were started, of course, there was not racial equality. So yes, there was a concern about racial inequality and about ways to protect the members of the organization and the organizations themselves because of racial inequality. So that was something that contributed to it, I should say. But of course, there were also many other reasons why incorporation made sense, as far as having a business entity and collecting membership fees and having headquarters and things like that, right? Taxes and things like that. So now let's have the legal part of the conversation, right? Since we know they have a trademark, we got that part down. We know that they are trademarked. Now let's have the next part of the conversation, which is, okay, so they're trademarks. So what happens if they do sue? Okay, let's have that part of the conversation. Let's talk about trademark lawsuits. All right. Let me queue up for you two. Wonderful for you two. Let me clue up. Now I turned it into clue up. Listen, y'all. You see my bedtime is coming now. Y'all know I am not, one of these hot to trots out here in these streets at nights, okay? I go to my bed. So, we're coming up on my bedtime, and I'm going to start talking like someone who's half asleep. I'm already in my jammies. I put the jammies on before the live because I knew after this, it's bedtime. Okay, so we are back. We're going to go back to the USPTO. All right, share screen. Let's start with about trademark infringement. Let's start with that. So if you have general questions about trademarks and trademark infringement, your best source of information is what? The source. What do I always teach you guys here, right? Go to the source. The government has their own websites. You don't need to go to someone else's website. Go to them. So USPTO, United States Patent and Trademark Office, about trademark infringement. Take a moment to gander at this while I sip my water. Alrighty, so here you have what happens when someone sues another person for trademark infringement. So here are all the different things that could happen. First, a court order, also called an injunction, which would stop the defendant from using the mark. So the court could order HBO and Issa Rae to pull that episode, to delete that portion of the episode, right? And to never, ever, ever include the use of the AKA name in any of their future episodes without permission. Okay? They could also issue an order requiring the destruction of the infringing articles, just as we discussed, right? Monetary relief, which is also an option. And you better believe that, if you were on the AKA's legal team, wouldn't you request monetary relief? Okay. So, alrighty. Including defendants' profits, right? So they could request monetary relief tapered by how much HBO and Issa Rae profited from the use of their trademarked AKA name, okay? And then they could also be granted an order in which HBO et al. Has to pay their attorneys' fees, okay? Now, let's talk about how the court decides that someone is infringing. In particular, let's talk about the factors they look at, okay? So, the factors they look at, in most cases, as they're saying here, is the degree of similarity between the marks at issue. So, the degree of similarity between what HBO showed and what AKA has trademarked. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? They directly used the letters, which is why in many of these shows you will see them use the colors instead. So remember that picture we saw of Amanda Seales just wearing the pink and green? That is what many shows will do. They'll have a woman wearing pink and green, or they'll have a woman wearing, royal blue and pure white. Those are my colors, right? Or they'll have a woman wearing crimson and cream. But they don't actually put the letters on the person. Yeah, because they know that that's infringing a trademark. Anyway, so they look at the similarity, which is a no-brainer, okay? And they look at whether or not the parties' goods or services are sufficiently related, right? Again, another no-brainer. Another factor they consider is the likelihood of confusion. Another no-brainer. You, of course, are going to think that they're portraying AKA because they directly copied the trademarked letters. Oh, all righty. Let's move into another lovely resource of the USPTO called I've Been Sued. And it tells someone what to do if they are sued for trademark infringement. So this is what I guess you could imagine HBO might want to look into. Okay. I've been sued. How does a trademark infringement lawsuit begin? Details here. What are my options to respond to the suit? Okay. And now here they give some details as to what HBO could do to try to cover themselves in court. They could challenge it's bedtime, y'all. They could challenge the validity of the claim trademark, which, listen, from what we're seeing, no. Okay. They could deny that the trademark owner has proved infringement. Hard to do. I mean, they literally have the exact org's letters and colors. That would be hard to do. Or they can assert some other defense to the alleged infringement, which, listen, we've pretty much ruled out the bulk of them. Okay. Or they could negotiate a settlement. Yeah, this is it. Okay. That is more than likely what HBO will do, is negotiate a settlement. Alrighty, so I am back in the chat. Now, does anyone have any question? Oh, interesting. So Nappy Yankee says this thing with Amanda Seals is more on some ADOS v Forum Blacks nonsense. Actually, Nappy Yankee, I have to disagree with that. If that's what you've been seeing online, Nappy Yankee, I think that's the individual people. So there may be some individuals, doing the back and forth with each other about ADOS and Foreign Black or whatever, right? But from a legal perspective, this is actually just downright disrespect. I mean, let's call it what it is. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated has trademarked their likeness, their name, their colors, their font for years on years on years. HBO, this mega corporation, comes along and thinks that they can violate that. Now, they did it via Issa Rae, right? And that's kind of the implication of the whole Foreign Blacks thing, because Issa Rae is a first-generation American. But honestly, that's for naught. I mean, that's irrelevant to the fact that they blatantly infringed on a trademark, allegedly. I don't know, we'll throw that in there, right? So all of that is for naught. The whole, where is Issa Rae? And Issa Rae was born in the United States of America. First generation American, second, third, 11th. She was born in the US, to my knowledge. I think she's the child of African parents, right? So if this has become an ADOS v Foreign Black people thing, that's individuals being ignorant. That's not the actual issue here, because we have a registered trademark that Issa Rae and HBO thinks that they can just, at. And that's kind of crazy to me. And honestly, I don't think that Issa Rae did this, right, or dressed her character with ADOS in mind. I don't think she thought, oh, I'm going to get it back at that ADOS. I don't think so. I don't think so. All righty. So if you have any questions, hello to Health Light. How you doing, Health Light? If you have any questions about trademarks, trademark infringement, right? And this whole AKA Issa Rae situation, feel free to put your question in the chat. You have a few minutes while I take a sip of my water. Alrighty, so Mara Sharice made a good point. Again, she's saying HBO is going to settle. More than likely. I don't think it would be worth it for them to litigate. I mean, they downright infringe on the trademark. Downright. Mara Sharice says she thinks Issa Rae is half and half. Oh, yeah. See, I don't know. So I don't think that's at the heart of this. If that is what it became, that's individuals. That's individual people, doing the back and forth and the back and forth. And I quite frankly do not see, well, you know what? I'm gonna refrain from making a comment on any of that. All right, so I don't see any questions, comments, or concerns. So let me tell you this. Hey, it's Saturday night, okay? If you're headed out this Saturday night, please be safe. Please be safe. Send someone your location, okay? Give someone the address to where you're going, right? Be safe. If you are going to be snuggled at home like me, have a wonderful Saturday night, as I am about to do. Hey, listen, Here on Empowered Esquire TV, we like to empower you, right? Arm you with legal knowledge. I hope you feel powerful and amazing because you are. If you're catching this on the replay, what say you? What do you make of all of this? What do you make of all of this? Do you think that Astroworld Festival and Travis Scott and Live Nation were negligent? Allegedly. Okay. What do you think about this Grandmaster J NFAC situation? If he had a scope and he could see that he was pointing his weapon at officers, allegedly, does that make him more culpable? You think that he's really facing some prison time here? And last but of course not least, how do you feel about this Issa Rae aka situation? Do you think that Issa Rae truly just did not care that she was infringing a trademark, or maybe that she didn't have the full understanding of the law of trademarks? You let me know. All righty. You have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday night. I will catch you on the flip side.